Joining us now to talk more about this landmark decision by the court is political strategist Calvin Dark. Calvin, good to see you again. Outrage today from the ivory towers, but what really was the reaction on Main Street? Because when the Dobbs decision was announced and Roe v. Wade was overturned, people poured into the streets.
Hi, good to be here today. I think that the reaction on the streets was unfortunately misinformed and fueled by some of the statements in the decision. You know, I think that if everyone was clear about the fact that affirmative action takes a group of already qualified students and uses race as one of many factors in that decision. It doesn't mean that a group of students of a particular race are chosen because of their race. There's still many other factors about a student's identity, such as, you know, did their parents go to the school? Are they children of potential donors? Are they children of faculty? Yet what the Supreme Court said today was that race, unlike those other ones, can't even be asked. And I think that if people looked at it that way, that would probably change a lot of the perception. Definitely among students, current and former students, this is a ruling that is not something that's going to help the cause of diversity in higher education. And I really feel for the future students who are considering where they want to go to school next year.
Calvin, did the Supreme Court decide an issue from 1960? Or did they decide an issue from 2023? I remember integrating institutions when affirmative action was first announced, and people then said, black people are taking people's jobs. They're taking your educational opportunities. Do you think that's what the courts decided today, or did they decide today that really 2023, we our generation overcame?
I really love that question because when you look at what Justice Thomas said, for example, he kind of alluded to that. I think the line was something to the effect of 17-year-olds today, you know, they didn't have anything to do with Jim Crow or any responsibility for that. And like you mentioned, like the segregation of the 60s, what we have to remember is the effects of it still are affecting us today. I'll give you an example in my own life. My parents, who are African-American, were not allowed to go to the university that I attended, Duke University, an amazing university. And that was just one generation ago. So it's not about saying that we still live in Jim Crow. It's about acknowledging that our near past still affects the lives of students who are trying to get a higher education. And remember, this is for qualified students. So once again, I think that the court tries to paint a picture of a world that they want to exist, that I want to exist, where this isn't necessary. But just because we say racial discrimination doesn't exist, doesn't make it so.
Which is exactly what Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson said. So let me ask the question this way, from the other side of the spectrum, if not now, when? I remember in 2008 when then President-elect Barack Obama walked out across that stage in Grant Park in Illinois and said, anybody who doubted the American dream, look at what's happening in Illinois. I'm paraphrasing, but basically people said, if America could elect an African-American president, perhaps it had overcome its past.
I think that the election of former President Barack Obama was a huge step forward, but it was not 300. That wasn't for every African-American was an elected president. That was a huge step forward for him. It was a huge step forward of how far we've come. And I think it's unfortunate that as we make that progress, that we're like, okay, now let's stop the things that are helping us make that progress. I think the right time would have been when everybody across the spectrum realizes and feels comfortable that we don't need it any longer. I think with Justice Sotomayor's dissent, I really understood what she meant, that we don't want this to be enshrined forever, but we have to acknowledge where we are and how we get to where we want to be. And ending a program that is trying to achieve the diversity that we need in higher education is a step backwards, not a step forward.
Calvin, the Dobbs decision sent young people to the polls in droves and still continues to do so, upset over the rollback of provisions regarding a woman's health. Do you think this will have the same impact politically?
I think it depends on what the political parties say they now want to do to address the issues that people are having about diversity in higher education. You know, if neither party, Republicans or Democrats, have a plan that how can we now promote diversity in those spaces, then I don't think it will. Because yes, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of just frustration with the court, but unless people understand what their vote can bring about, what change or reform is being proposed by a particular party, it's not going to make them go to the polls. And so I hope that our political parties will hear that and come up with plans and then make those arguments to the voters so that voters will go to the polls with this on their mind.
I should point out today, by the way, both Barack and Michelle Obama came out sharply critical of the court's decision today. Our political strategist, Calvin Dark. Calvin, always good to see you.
Thank you.